we're going to start. Thank you for your patience too. I know this is rough. It doesn't usually happen. But whatever.
Just thank you too, because you know.
We're going to be open. We're going to be loving. We're going to celebrate the time that we have. I'm going to be extra and woo because that's how I am. And it's going to be whatever. We're starting over. So what I'm going to do too for you is right now, because there's so much clutter and um, there's so much clutter as far as, the mind and comfort goes, we're going to do a quick little hold my hands and let's chill together for a second, okay? You're holding my hands too? Yes.
Not yet. I'm working on it.
Oh, no. Mentally. You don't have to have it.
Oh, okay.
This is for ease and comfort. This is not for any type of stress. This is, I am here with you. We are comfortable. Only love and light to come in. All the guides from highest of highs. No lies, no deceit. Let's bless Jana here. Did I say your name right?
Absolutely. I'm so proud of you.
Let's bless Jana. Let's make sure that she has a really good visit with you guys and excuse me, let her know what she needs to know for the season that she's in now, and also working on recovery from health from the past. And we're going to dive into all this. We're just going to be a blessing to Jana. Just really lift her on high and let her know what she needs to know today. So thank you, and welcome all spirits, only love and light. No lies, no deceit. No lies, no deceit. Deep breath in and out. Get rid of the yucky, stagnant stuff as you're breathing out. Know that you are worthy. So fill up the place, fill up your heart, fill up your mind, everywhere around you with that love and light that's well deserved. You're so worthy of that. Just channeling that in, letting it be a muse to the situation and honoring of spirit and mind. Mm-hmm. Couple of breaths, deep breath in and out. And we give thanks. There is. Are you a grandma?
No.
No. Okay. There's this boy, and I can't figure out if he's passed over from a long time ago or if he's from a miscarriage. He looks like he could have been your son. That's why I'm wondering. He would have been. He looks like right now he would be in his really young, so 10, 12, somewhere around that age. He's coming in to let you know that everything is okay. And he says that he would have passed a long time ago, but he keeps calling you mama. So I'm assuming that this must be a miscarriage. But just know that he's okay there. Do you recall this miscarriage?
It was very, very early on. Like, it happened like that. So.
So it would have been like that, but he was embedded into you because he is calling you mama. And he wants you to know that was something that mattered. It mattered to him. It mattered to you, that space. And he's so glad that you're honoring him. He would probably be in he's in that puberty age, but going into that 12, 13 young boy age. And he looks very, you were married before your now husband?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be from him. That on there, your ex-husband has dark hair, doesn't he? I
He
want to
did.
say like medium brown hair. A lot of people would say it's jet black, but I'm a hairdresser, so it's not. But this would have been with you, with him. Is he still on this earth plane? It feels like he's crossed over on the. He's still okay. This miscarriage would have been with him, but he was a very toxic relationship. And it looks like, the son is saying that it was glad that things didn't work out, but he was really, really, really happy that he got to be your baby and you be his mama in that enclosed time that he got. He's also talking about that um, you did not have time to mourn this. It happened because it happened the way that it did, and also at that same time, you were in such a state of destructive relationship that it would have been better for that to him not to complete his life here. However, you didn't get to mourn. You didn't get to even say his name or understand that he needed not a funeral, but an honoring. And there was no time for that. And you were very much undermined for your health during that time as well. Um,
Um, this miscarriage was so fast.
like you would
It was
even
like this. So I didn't even know that it was a boy.
Yeah, well, he's here to let you know. This would have been, it would have, if it showed up on a pregnancy test, it would have shown up on a blood test, but not necessarily a pee test because it was that early.
Mhm.
Um, and also, so he was able to implant, but it was fairly quick into implantation that he was released. But he's talking about the warmth of your uterus as well, and the warmth of your voice, and he would have called you mama. That yes, no, it was too early to, there would be no way that you would know that this was a boy. It's way too early. But at the same time, though, he's letting you know, here I am. And it is time at some point soon to honor that death too, because you are never given the time for self too to be able to do that. And it sounds like he's saying that husband now would be very supportive of that, but kind of would freak out and not know what to do with the situation. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
ooh, good. I'm here for you to help you, but have no idea how to help you on that part. But he's there and supportive. Um, and so I needed to tell you that too, because that did happen so long ago. He would be, if he was alive today, entering his early teens on that. So he wants to give you validation of that moment. He is with grandma. On the other side, grandma does take care of him. He doesn't call her grandma. Um, She would have been a granny if she had a preferred name. It would be a granny or a nanny or something to that degree. It wouldn't be grandma. Um,
We called my grandma Mima.
Mima. Okay, that makes sense. It's not your grandma sense. It's something really, really intimate. And because your grandmother says though that Mammy was another name that you guys would call her too. Um, That's interesting. But yeah, maybe it's hard sometimes to hear their voices like that. And I'm horrible with names, just to let you know straight up. I am terrible with names.
That's okay.
So some of those voices when they come like that, but she's showing though that she's holding him in, as a baby on the lap. She's watching him as he spiritually grows too. He will enter the family again, but not through you on that part, but he will be in the family. So, and when his arrival does happen, you'll know. You'll have such a familiar companionship with him that it just makes sense that this is that little boy. Um, and so I'm hearing also with that, you do have kids yourself, right? No. Were you in that part? Were you close to, because there's a boy and a girl that is, you've got the son there, and then either this is a niece that this is the son on the other side, not here. There is like a niece or somebody that feels like could be a daughter, but it's more that you're close in relationship with this person. She would be in her 30s or so. And with that could be somebody who was like a cousin or a somebody that you would have been closer with when she was younger. Does that make sense?
No.
No? Okay, this will
Could it
we're
be
gonna put
a
this.
cousin?
It could be a cousin, it could be a childhood friend, it could have been somebody who is close to you. They would be close to you now, but you were especially close to them when they were younger. And that mom feeling could be the part of that you were influenced in their life, not actually as mom, but as a mom figure type, like a friend, or you know how like friend teenagers can call each other, hey mom, but you're actually the same age. That doesn't check out. So this person, anyway, there will be a birth within that family too, that you're maybe you end up getting closer to this person as well. So I don't want to dig too much into that because it's not triggering on your mind yet, but that will come forward soon. And because that's why I like to record these too, so that way when you play it back and that becomes known, you're like, oh, okay, that's what you were talking about there. Because spirit doesn't give me information that is incorrect. They'll give me, it's like playing charades with them too, depending on where the entities are on the other side, like we talked about earlier about being protective and all that stuff. Their voices will get louder and louder, but your grandmother gives more of an understanding, and instead of the actual words itself, and she projects those images, and I'm doing what I can to translate what she's saying. She's talking about also hardship in the family, with that, and she says though that she was there for you during you've had it looks like several years of chronic issues and medical issues that first kind of went by the wayside, and you're just barely starting to get taken seriously at this point. And your health itself has been dragging for so long, and that comes a lot from not being able to self-honor the way that you are worthy of doing. And that during this growth and this healing phase for you, as you're coming into, it's going to, just like when you cough really hard and you release that phlegm, the same thing spiritually is going to be happening with you, and raising up all those toxic illnesses and stuff to the forefront too, as you allow yourself to cough per se. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Also, I guess she's talking about that there was a financial hardship as well, that either a loss of job, or this is also on husband's side, that
Ex-husband?
or no, now,
Oh, my now
yes,
husband?
your now husband, going
Okay.
through some financial stripes. This would have been over the last 2 years. It looks like you're coming out of really hard stuff and going into a lighter season, which it's been a long time since you basically haven't gotten any breaks anywhere, as you're going through, as far as like one thing after another, as far as hardships. Um,
When you asked if I had children, does that mean biological children?
no, no, it
So
doesn't.
I do. I have three girls then, my
That's
husband's kids.
that's what I'm talking about. Okay, thank you for connecting with that. Because spirit never gives me wrong information. But
Uh,
as far as spirit on the other side, when you are married like you are right now, you become one family spiritually as well.
mm,
So even the daughters, if you had biological children, then they would be spiritually bound into him as well. He would claim the same. Your aunts and uncles become like his aunts and uncles, and spiritually and so forth. So you're going to have that crossover.
okay.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, no, it's a kids, but not in a form that is traditional, but there's a daughter who's going to be pregnant. That's down the road. So that's what I'm talking about. When in a healthy
Mm,
time, it'll be healthy time. Healthy time, not like anytime soon, but there's a daughter there that will have this son that makes you a grandma. So,
okay.
so even though you're not biologically, you're still grandma, and you'll have a new name for. Just like my husband is not my kid's biological father at all, but he is their, you know, their stepdad. Or, yeah, and we and his mom is my mom, but
Mhm.
we're not biologically related. Same thing with his dad. But
Right.
that's so for you. So to understand that in all relationships, that it doesn't have to be biological. It's what the relationship looked like. So in
Oh,
this case, they view you as a mom figure. That's where, even if there's separation distance, that you don't have to see them every day for that to happen. But I feel like you see that they don't regularly live in the house though, do they? Yeah, but I mean, they visit a couple times a year. Um,
the oldest used to live with us, and actually, she just moved
yeah,
back with her mom.
right,
Like,
right. But she's still his kid. You're still mom there. You still hold that just because it doesn't go away. Also, that's where like the financial hardships come into. It's like you guys were just not given a break anywhere. And financial and emotional and spiritual and health and just one thing after another. The last 2 years have been a real butt kicker for you guys. And the whole part about this is Grandma saying that Nima is saying that you're coming into relief is on the way. Your medical part is going to start being handled as well, as especially as they start understanding what the long-term part of this is. But then also you have other illnesses too. A lot of it is inflammation disorder related. It's a chronic. That's where your pain is coming from. That's where your lungs activate because of that. There's nerves that are being fired off in ways that aren't necessarily controlled yet. And I'm asking her when she's going to get really good relief, and she's saying that part takes a while to find the right kind of pain management for this. And it's not that they don't believe your story, it's just that everything is under such tight rein. You're not getting the relief that you need to get. And that's where she says, do you know that I have been with you this whole time? Do you know that I have watched over you? Do you know that I get in bed and actually cuddle with you when you're taking your naps? That do you know that I'm here? And she's coming right through me to say that with you. You two would have been very close growing up. So that's she's honoring
she
you.
was she was my very, very best friend.
And that's why she shows on that side, even though she was your grandma, she shows more of a motherly figure than she was.
Yes.
But even though she wasn't mom, but she felt like mom. That she felt like your safe haven, your place to go to.
Yes.
When the loud world got too loud, that you could go and escape with her. And she is with you currently. She's with you right now. She's like, look over your shoulder right here on the yep, right there. She's right there. She's snuggled up with you. So
Oh, yeah.
that's yeah, she's putting her hand on your face. She says, "Hi, sweet cheeks."
Yeah. She called me. She called me Nana.
mm. Oh, that's where the Nana comes in. That's where I'm hearing like that. What is
Yeah,
it's the
I
Dan.
was Nana.
Oh, okay.
Short for Jana Banana.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love that so much. That's how you know that she's there. That's not for the honoring of me. I need you to know that that's valid, that's right there and checked in. Also, she was talking for relations. There was some school dance that you had that you needed to look a certain way and didn't have the resources that you need to have the right dress and the right hair, and how beautiful you ended up out of your own resources, looking so beautiful despite what was going on in your family. And how she's saying how proud you are that you are that person who can make something amazing out of nothing. And that is the character that she was also the same way. It didn't matter what dragons, and she's saying this, it didn't matter what dragons we had to fight. We knew that we were safe to fight them and move forward. And for you to know that she's there with you, fighting dragons with you. So that is a huge thing. I don't usually say that. I listen to what they're saying, and they're using their words through me, not these aren't my words. They're ways to connect her to you on that part. I'm going to take a sip real quick too. Um, But she's talking about those hardship too. I guess she used to cook for you when you weren't feeling well as well. So food is a big love language there. And she's talking about these incredible soups that you ended up learning how to make as well. It's like a stew kind of a something that's a home style stuff that you learn from her to
Mhm.
do your own style of it now.
Mm.
She says that she wasn't as good of a cook as you are, but she at the same time.
Oh, that's not true.
But she says that though that's
That's not true.
oh yes it is, honey. That's and she's like, oh, she's just so proud of you. So proud of you as though she's there with you. And she's talking about too that do you have a light on the other side of you?
On this side?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can't even see me. On that side?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a lamp.
Can you point the camera over there so you can see what I'm talking about? That flickers.
No.
No? Well, she's going to be communicating with you in that way. So,
The bathroom lights
and
flicker.
that is, yes. Yeah, she's talking about lights flickering. She's going to make that one start doing it too. So that way you know she's cuddling
Good.
with you. So she says she understands that you need the physical connection. You understand that she's there. You understand that she's been there. But it's that physical connection that you miss
Can I
the
tell you
most.
something?
Yeah?
So right after she died,
And you were able to be
we,
there for her.
yes, and we buried her. Like 4 days later, I had to go see my therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and I was crying, crying, crying the entire way. And
Mm.
I felt her hand on my face. Like I literally felt it.
That's why she was doing that right when you're sitting there, and her putting her hand on your face like that is to
Uh-huh.
remember that she does that, and she did it
And
when you
then,
were alive and everything else.
and then one day I was just laying here in bed, and I have a Tempur-Pedic mattress, so it takes a little bit of weight to push it down.
Right, right.
And somebody sat down,
Hmm.
like the
That's her.
bed pushed in. And then other times, like when I'm just having like a really bad day, like super, super bad day, I'm just like, Mima, Peepaw, my grandpa,
That's what I was just gonna
please.
say. Your grandpa is there as well. He visits all the time. He is a lot easier to do, but he's always afraid that you're gonna get scared by him. Is the
I don't know.
But it's because of discernment. He was very protective over you, and so he's very protective of what they allow in your house as well. So I have to say that though he had darker hair though, didn't he? And when he yeah, when
Black.
exactly, exactly. And when he passed, it was thinner on top. He still had hair on top, but it was thinner, like you could see the scalp part, and then also little bits of gray through it. He wasn't like totally, totally white gray when he
No,
had
salt and
passed.
pepper.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So he's showing that too but in his younger years, if he would have that gorgeous slicked back hair that was shiny and it looked like a raven to you, that and he's talking about that too. Oh, and he's saying, I don't mean to cut you off or anything like that, but look out for crows. I mean ravens. That was a it's a teacher spirit for you, and he is around when there's ravens around for you too, because it has to tie in with the hair.
I'll have to look.
Yeah, but he'll bring you signs like that too, and I know that you've seen them in the more recent time, but it just might not be upfront
Uh-huh.
on it. So when you look, excuse me.
Bless you, my darling.
Mm.
If you have to cough, please go for it.
Oh, I will. I will. I will. This one didn't know what it was wanted to do. Um, that he is there to show you those signs as well. So yeah, you can continue on. I'm just sorry about that. Yes, exactly. Thank you. I know he was like, put on your breathing. I didn't know if that was like your nebulizer or if that was your
No,
um.
I have one of those too, but
Mhm.
I have to wear oxygen.
Mhm. Do you have
But normally,
COPD from the past too? Is that what that
I
is?
might, I don't know. They said I had COVID lung.
That makes sense. So the popcorn lung stuff, because I'm like that. That's a very specific feeling that when I get that, it feels like pneumonia to me. On
Yeah.
Yeah, then I can feel what you're feeling. So I'm like, is that COPD or is it because this isn't just like something of a chest cold or something?
No, when I
Bless
got
you.
COVID, it severely damaged my lungs. But I'm also a smoker. So,
I am too. That's why I said going outside, but shh.
yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. What's it
Yeah.
gonna do? Cause cancer?
So, but when I get upset, my oxygen drops. And so I just need to put it on for a few minutes.
That's fine. That is absolutely fine. Yeah, I'm so glad I get to spend time with you this way. This is so wonderful.
Me,
Grandpa's
I'm
saying,
so
open the
happy.
cards, open the cards, open the cards. So we're going to take a look at, I pulled 6 cards before we started going because they told me to pull for this, but I love doing it this way when we're like this and they reveal what we're talking about through the cards when and it's not by accident. It's really just cool that way. So I want to see what they have to say on that. Okay, so the first card that comes up is giving in, and that has to do with the past of giving in. You have to succumb to the situation of this part was a specifically being like feeling like you're being buried alive in the situation, and there's nothing that you can do. It was unpreventable. But it was literally life consuming. That type of giving in. You have no other things to do but give in. But in the parallel to now, what giving in today means that you are finally making yourself a priority. You're giving into self. You're coming, rather than the reverse that was going on of you're sorry, um, of where it's like been overwhelming and vulnerable. And so you're kind of giving into that in a positive way too for your self growth. And from that, you will receive after you are going through your healing time on that. There's a time of preservation, conviction, which is a good thing, a vulnerability in the way for growth. You won't be overwhelmed by these situations anymore. And there's tons of protection around. Your grandparents are a huge part of that too. They both battle territory over your ground so nothing bad can get in there. They're both huge
But
protectors. It looks like they would have been religious in their own way, but a lot more conservative than us
mhm.
sitting. They're open minded now because they know who I am. We've vetted, we've talked, I let them scan me. That was really cool too. And your guides, I let them scan me too because I'm all about that but they're that protective. In order for you to talk to me, I had to get through all sorts of security checks with your people too. So that is amazing that you're like that. Um, that is very honoring. And the other thing too about this card is that in this deck it's basically like swords, which means how to act in most things, to give in, but give in a way that is not self-oppressive, that is not that whatsoever. It has to benefit your highest good, and what will it give you long term, making those kind of negotiations. Is it worth it to you? Does it put you in a good frame of mind? Does it serve your best interests? If you were parenting your inner child as though this was your child instead of self, how would you treat this person? And what does giving in look like that way? If you're going to tell your own child to give in, you're going to be like give in to all of the personal stuff, but doing it in a protective way. So that mind frame of giving in here.
I'm very protective of myself. I don't let many people in at
No,
all.
no, and you shouldn't. And yeah, I'm
And
protective
I
over
kind of
you.
always been that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's an honor to be able to read like this for you, is because I mean it and I go through it. My husband is just as protective, and we we only surround ourselves with certain vibrational levels. And the conservative on that is good, but not conservative of where it's limiting in a toxic way. You know what I mean? And not so liberal that it's like anything goes. There's no protections down, because we're not okay with that. Um,
Yeah. If
yes,
I let someone in and you screw me over, like, you're done. Or if you've just really let me down over and over and over, like, there's only so much I can take, and then
you've
I'm going
already,
to call you out on it.
yeah,
And if it doesn't get fixed, then sorry, you've got to go.
exactly. And that's because of everything that you've been through. You don't need to, and your husband doesn't need to watch you go through that stuff anymore too. He's very protective of you as well. Although for him, he's a lot more tolerant than you are, with putting up
Yes.
with people's bullshit than you are. But he's protective nonetheless. And so this is one of coming through obstructionism. So one of the hard things that in the past too is because of the situation, you self persecute yourself. Well, that was redundant, but there's a lot of self persecution going on, and that you are telling yourself that you're lazy when you're sick, that you're telling yourself that you should have done more, that you should have been a better person, a better wife, a better fill in the blanks
I say that
expectations.
all the time. Like, I'm a horrible wife. Like, I can't do anything.
It's unacceptable. That's where I'm talking about. Can you imagine yourself? Imagine that this little girl comes to your door. She's freezing outside, doesn't have parents, doesn't have, she's hungry, she's tired, she's actually come from a very abused background without a whole lot of help and without a whole lot, except for the grandma that she can go to so often. And
That was me.
I
That's
know.
me.
That's what I'm tapping into. But I'm going somewhere with this. But instead, the grandma at that part, yes, while she was very much there, you couldn't, through time and through certain things, you were actually protective of her, and
Yes.
wanted to keep things in reserve on yourself too, as to not burden her. Um,
Yeah.
and uh, think about that little girl. How would you treat her today? How would you, and not imagine that it's not yourself. You know, this little girl, she would have had that brown red hair too, that in certain lights, she's got brighter red hair, and she's covered in freckles. And she is just, she's even got some, her hair is pretty curly, not quite like this,
Yeah.
but frizzies around the edges, you know.
That,
It's kind of unkept as a, and then she would have worn,
my hair is very curly.
mhm, and she would have worn her hair in either pigtails or a ponytail, but it had a ribbon in it. Remember those ribbons from the 80s that they were
Yeah.
like not quite shoelaces, but they were kind of fuzzy shoelaces, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, of where almost like Cindy on
Yes. The Brady Bunch.
you. Thank you. But that's you. But you're not Cindy. But that hair stuff, that style. But not as kept, because you've got sunshine and childhood going through your hair too. She was a very adventurous little girl. But she needs boundaries. She needs safety. She needs love. She needs affection. She needs to be taught how to daydream. I need you to be working on her, and the grace that you would give her, and teach her how to do that, because you are worthy. This is the only appropriate time to have detachment from self, is doing this inner child work. I call it shadow work, because you're working on the darker things that you don't like to work on, that nobody likes to work on, but it's so important. But this is the time to be disassociative to yourself, so that way you can truly honor and nurture yourself. When it becomes more habit muscle memory, then you can really tune into yourself and understand the difference, but you're too new in it to not do anything different. And then you need
Got
to
it.
have these authentic experiences too, in a very safe, protected way. That's where grandparents come in. That's where all of your guides, that's where your, um, your people who have passed over from when you were young, but actually they stayed with you through the years, that died way too early. These people are here with you. There's a younger boy and a girl from younger years. Of you could have been in college, or you could have been in, late teenager areas, but those people would not be alive today. Does that make sense? There's a couple of people that are like that. There's a male energy here who's part of that too. And on that part, just like we're talking about, by blood, you know how chosen family can be closer than biological family. So this person here, it looks like he was in a type of a motorcycle accident or a car accident, or something, but this happened a very long time ago. So, but the accident at the same time, I don't think you were aware of that. So, but
Right.
he's showing that he's at the high school yearbooks, and he thinks of you. And even though he's not upfront present in your life, he would have had like sandy brown hair, kind of like your husband's hair, but just a little darker. And he would have, um,
Hmm.
you would have talked to him passing in hallways. You weren't like best friends, but he,
In high school,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, you
His
were,
name was Clint.
yes, yes. There's been the word Clint over the last couple of days. And I was like, last night I was coming in from a cigarette, and that name Clint came up, and it was this boy that looked like, oh my God. And it looked like the spirit that I've been seeing across the street, very much like him, but it was Clint. That's for you. That's Clint. He's been with
Mhm.
you, and he comes with you, but he doesn't want to scare you either. But he is with you, actually. He's
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, he watches you, and he takes it, but he does it from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
He cares about you, and he cared about you a lot back then, but he wasn't as vocal about that as he would have had a crush on you, but at the same time, he would never tell you that. He would never, he really looked to you. He, you know, would say that he knew you like a sister, that kind of thing, but he's not your brother. But it's, how when you're a teenager and you're like, you kind of say this whole condescending when you're interested in something romantically, but you don't want to confide it. And you go, oh, you're just like my brother, like that was the same
Yeah.
thing that he would refer to you as a sister, way like that. So yeah, just later on dig through that. But yeah, that's Clint. Is that, yeah, were you in science? He's showing chemistry stuff, and that you were
Um,
smarter than him.
he was a different grade than I was.
Hmm. But you were always smarter than he was. You were always hands-on and also book
He
savvy.
he passed away before I took chemistry, if I believe.
He what?
He passed away before I took chemistry.
That's fair. That makes sense. But
Yeah.
um, but he's showing, as far as that was like before, even if it's before chemistry, the point is that he was there watching you. He was there during that time that you meant something to him. And it kind of makes him blush to even think about it. So, like, I'm sitting here calling him out. Um, but he's been
He
behind the
was
scenes.
very much an artist. Like
Yes.
that was his thing.
Hands-on learning. And yes, yes. Yeah.
Very much.
And he would have been fascinated with chemistry, although he was terrible with math. You were better at that than he was. He would
No,
be, he
sucked
would
at math.
well, he says you are, and that he thinks you are, because he says that you're the one that he would rather cheat off of than
Well, don't know how far he would have gotten with that, but
right. Not his point, but he's just showing that connection there. So be aware that he is with you for that part of that obstruction, that feeling of laziness, that feeling of like, no, 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 absolutely not. That's not meant for you. And it leads you into all of the inner child work, which is excellent. And then we have the perseverance. Yep. because of all of your perseverance, excuse me, because of all of your perseverance, that pays off huge. The action of it needs to be swift and sharp. It pays off quickly. It pays off every time that you're working through some hard stuff. It pays off in a big way and quickly as soon as you actually 100% resolve a situation. So understand that that's your work does pay off, your the pain does pay off, that your understanding through going through that hardship pays off, and it doesn't take a long time for it to pay off. It pays off immediately because you're right
Okay.
in the middle of purpose. Does that make sense? You're in the middle of purpose. You're exactly where you're supposed to be because who better to help teach somebody else than somebody who's been through it themselves? And using that compassion and understanding that you are in purpose, that it's bigger than you. And as you're learning how to get through that grievance and those hard times too, you start to discover how you can be of service because you do have such a service heart. You want to do the best for others. You want to do, but you're sick and can't do like that. So there's other formats and changing expectation that comes up that you're able to serve that is actually bigger than you would have ever expected of yourself, but it's immediate gratification for those things because you went through the hard work of it and that positioned you in this time in the greater good to be in purpose and for that to pay off. Does that make sense? So look
Yeah, I
for a
actually
lot.
worked in hospice. I worked
Aha.
in hospice. I did home health,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it was hospice work, and you stay with them like all day or whatever. And my
I gotta
favorite,
show
well,
you this
not my
card.
favorite, one of my favorite patients, um, she said that she was not leaving her house unless it was feet first, and she was having a lot of problems. And I, what I did was illegal, but I actually quit
It's
my job.
necessary. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it was
I
necessary.
I quit my job and took on private care, and I actually moved in and lived with her.
I love it.
And had the agency found out, because I was contractor, like
Yeah.
I could have been sued, she could have been sued. So I hid my car in the garage, and
Yeah, fair. And she had a certain smell on her too that you were constantly reminding her of, um, like, don't worry about that. I don't see those things in you that you do. That she was kind of self-conscious about um, not being
her
able to
teeth.
clean herself. Yes, and the smells that would happen.
Hmm.
And
But just like, don't worry about it. Just let me take care of it.
exactly. Exactly. She's here too. So understand that we're pulling that up too. But what's funny in the situation at the very end, you see your grandparents pull these cards, right? They're the ones who pick these cards. So we're here to they're validating stuff that we're talking about. So in the end of this situation with this woman that you're working on, right? And that you're working with, one of the things that it was very easy for you to help them, but the grievance afterwards that you had to deal with, it hasn't been, and you haven't been able to do that with your miscarriage either. Um, and that's look what card they picked.
You don't letting go.
Hmm.
Something, I can't see the second
Oh, no,
word.
no, no. Just look at the letting go. Just the This has to do with all of the letting go and allowing yourself the grace to process and grieve. That you are remembered by your actions as well, and as well as your heart as well, and that um, these people, this woman that's here, she's showing that her hair, she would have had really salt pepper hair, but her hair was kind of greasy too because she wasn't able to clean it as well as she would like to, but
She,
she was
she wouldn't let me wash her hair.
okay. That's I'm being nice to that part. Yeah, she had sebum that was crusted on her scalp that if you almost like adult cradle cap
Hmm.
on her scalp, and she's showing me this. But the hair would stick to that sebum and be very painful to comb, and so that's why the
Have that.
Well, what she's showing me on that part too, I would have to show you pictures of that part too. I'm not talking about you see the heavy crusting on certain people, that crusty, heavy crust. We're
Yeah.
not talking like that for her. It's a light part of there. It's almost like seborrhea but the scalp was tender. She wasn't in the mood. She didn't have time for it. She also don't touch me. That's it was a lot of like of hearing her saying I would don't touch me, and just kind of reserved on herself. And that now that she's passed over, though, she's different. She was in a very hard place for her mentality, though, when she was alive and present with you. But you understood her, and it was a lot that what was coming out of her mouth didn't match what her mind was, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And you knew the difference too, and you knew how to communicate with her, and you made her feel very special. It was like you were an angel to her, and it was just beautiful, you know, just beautiful. But she's here honoring that too. I guess she's giving me the taste of chocolate. They used to give her chocolate. Was that it?
Mm.
Yeah, as one of the sneak sugar things that to keep in moderation. Yeah, and she says, but my mouth was dry. With you trying to use that as an excuse to have more candy.
Beer. She wanted
That
beer or
too.
vodka.
Yeah, that too. That's so funny. That's so funny. And being able to do that in this her justifying it
We
like
had
it
a
was candy.
we had a love-hate relationship. Like, Ellen, you can have all the alcohol you want. All you have to do is eat something.
Uh-huh.
I
And
don't care what that something is, but you're gonna eat before you get alcohol. And she,
can I have chocolate? That personality, it's like almost like it reminds me um of what is it? Um Dementia.
yes, she does. She had dementia.
Okay. That there's a very specific memory thing that happens with that. The way she would be in and out and in and out.
Yeah.
And when she was in too, there's different layers of her being in. So when she was
Hmm.
in too, there was times where she was very angry because she didn't know where she was, what was going on.
Yes, she would get real
Angry.
mean and try to hit.
Yep.
And
That's
I
what
had
she told me.
medications in my belts that in my back pocket, and I would tell her, you know, chill out. I'm gonna have to give you this. And one day she wouldn't chill out, and she says, "I'm not." She says, "I'm not taking this." And
Yes.
I said, "Oh, yes, you are.
Yeah.
If I had put it in your mouth, you're taking this." And she went, "Fine." And so I made her take the pill, and I was in a wedding that same day. I had to have somebody come in and watch her.
Oh wow.
And I got home from the wedding, and she says, "Jana, please
Don't
don't give me
ever
that
leave me.
knockout pill ever again." And I said, "Honey, as long as you can behave yourself, we won't have to worry about that."
Fair. Fair. We are reaching the end of our time past. Not we're not counting time as far as like us setting up and all that stuff. Just from the 7 on when we
Right.
finally got in it for readings. But I want to make sure to include this stuff too, though. Is there? Did I answer a lot of the things that you were looking for?
Mainly my grandparents, like that's the most
Really? Cool.
precious. Like, no, like, yeah.
Cool. And after this, your
My
grandpa,
grandparents had always was always there for me a hundred
yeah,
percent.
they want you to
Right,
lay in the
wrong, or
middle of your bed.
indifferent. I came from a very abusive mother,
Yes, I know.
and her husband and my sperm donor, as I called him, like he was trash.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked at my grandparents more as like parental
Safe place.
units, kind
Yes.
of,
Yes.
but my attachment was very, very strong. I actually took care of my grandpa up until he died.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah,
the
and
one
he
doing
has
all the
things about that.
everything. I was there the last about 5, 6 days.
Mm-hmm. He says that
Then,
you really comforted him too, and you knew exactly what to do. He couldn't speak very much. And towards the end, it was difficult for him to.
The dementia slash Alzheimer's, he had lung cancer
Mhm.
that he beat. That he beat.
I know this wasn't done
He
to
had
take him out.
what is it? Testicular cancer.
Mhm.
What is it?
Yeah, that what is it? Shoot.
And
It's
he had
prostate
skin
and or
prostate,
testicular. Yeah.
and he had skin cancer. He beat all that. What got him is he was stage 4 renal failure, and he had congestive heart failure, and between those two, like, it's a very hard balance. And that's what kind of took him.
Well, cancer does that too, even when, so cancer never really goes into true, it's not like it disappears from your body. So
Right.
the skin cancer, the all that stuff, it's likely to be metastatic rather than one whole new cancer popping up and one whole new cancer. It just comes up that it comes up differently and it can take lots of
True.
time. But also the damage from the chemo can do long-term damage on your
They
kidneys.
do chemo. He
Huh?
only did radiation.
That's
No
yeah,
chemo.
radiation is a big one that if
Yeah.
they do too much chemo in the area, I mean, I keep saying chemo, but I'm meaning radiation. If they do too much area, say on just like your lower abdomen areas, anywhere around there, it can cause long-term kidney damage and liver damage too. It is not a cancer, but it is from the cancer, if that makes sense.
Right.
So all of these things, yes, that would have led up to long-term, it's the cancer, but not the cancer, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also I spent many, many years after my Meemaw passed first,
Hmm.
and I spent many years hating myself and wondering if she was like proud of me. And
Yeah. But you heard her say how proud she is of you.
right, my aunt finally got it through my head that she she, she doesn't look down upon me.
No, no,
And
no. She
it
celebrates.
took that from my aunt for me to kind of grieve in a different. It's taken me years to grieve.
And that's why they're talking about the letting go. That's why they
Yeah.
put this card for you. They're there with you too. And your grandpa's talking about he wants you to lay in the middle of your bed after this and let them lay on either side of you. Your grandmother where she was, but your grandfather is on the other side by where the light is, but in the middle of the bed. And they want to share that time with you. It sounds super creepy, but it's really important. Um, and to be able to, they want you to have a season of tears. That does not mean it's bad tears. It's of grievance, of letting go, of saying, I am worth healing. I am worth feeling. I know that I have protections around me. I am not going to sit and dwell in sorrow, but I'm going to allow healing. I am worth it, and they're giving me tingles too right now too. Your grandma's calling me a good kid. What a sweetie. Um,
Yes, that's what she would say.
you're a good kid is what she's saying to me. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah. So,
I was I was her very favorite.
oh, I know.
And
Yeah,
yeah, she loved all of her grandkids, all of them.
of course.
But
She had a special
in
space for
secret, in secret, I was her favorite, except for it wasn't so secretive.
you.
Like, they all knew, like, if I tell Mima something, that's it, whatever.
I love that. I love that.
But it was like I needed somebody. Like, my cousins each had their own parents.
Hmm. You didn't
My
have
brother
that.
had, huh?
You didn't have that. You didn't have a
No,
single
I
home.
didn't. And so my grandparents were that.
Hmm.
And yeah,
You're gonna be able to play this back later, and
I think I don't know for sure. I think I've grieved them because now I can only think like happy thoughts.
right.
But there are times where I get very sad and I cry. And it's usually at nighttime
Yes, of
when my
course.
husband's asleep.
Yes. But they're also talking about, with this child that you miscarried and didn't get to grieve, that they will be there for you while you're grieving. So it's not they are the cause of your grieving, it's they are there with you for the grieving.
Yeah.
So that's a
And
totally different.
I always tell my husband, I said, I wish you could have met them. Like,
Yeah, I would have.
you would have loved them and they would have loved you like 100%. My
Mhm.
husband's in the military, so we're Army. That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier with the conservative but not that conservative, um,
Yeah.
of that part, because it's military is a very specific personality. I understand and respect so much. And so I figured that that was something with him as well. My husband was Army, and we're demonologists and all that stuff. We go and do what we do, but I'm also a professional psychic medium. And I actually did his beard because I'm a hairdresser barber.
Uh-huh.
And I did his beard for 3 years before we started dating. It went from, goatee into his gigantic piece
Is
of
that who
art.
I've been seeing in the background?
Yeah, that's my
With the
husband. Yep, yep, with the big beard. Yep, yep.
Yeah.
But that
That's what my
military,
husband wants when he retires. But I'm like,
exactly, because he's retired. He can
yeah.
afford it. So, you have a
Well,
nice
my
beard.
husband is a lieutenant colonel
Yeah. Wow.
and he is about to be a full bird.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
Working on his fourth master's because you got
Wow.
to become that. So I'm from Texas and he's actually, and I'm going to tell you this real quick. He's actually from New York, Western New York.
Mm-hmm.
My Ellen that I was telling you about, the one that I quit my job, moved in with, completely illegal,
Yep. Sometimes it's got to be like that.
is from New York in a village about 30 minutes away from where my husband grew up. Okay, so when I first met my husband, he lived across the highway from her housing and her house development,
Yep.
across the highway in apartments with his oldest daughter. And I swear that she had something to do with it. It was after she passed that she had something to do with it. There's no other
She did. She did. That's what I'm
there's
talking about. Like, you don't understand your union, or maybe you do understand that none of it's coincidence.
no.
And that on the other side, they literally put together situations for you guys to be in, for you to meet, to be part of that. This is your now union. This is your eternity. You finally met him. This is him. And this is you. And it's significant. And that's where purpose comes out too, in a whole different layers of that. But
We
also,
got married after 4 months.
yeah,
3 to 4. We got married like that.
that makes sense. That makes
And
sense.
I
So do you see
never would
why
have done that.
you're the whole thing with the being a mom, the grandparent stuff, the all that you guys go into each other in every
Yeah.
possible way? I'm glad we got to call that during your reading too, because you understood.
Yeah. I was not ever, ever, ever gonna get married again. Like
Why would you?
I was I went through such hell the first time. I was
Yeah,
like, fuck this. Pardon my French, but I was
yeah,
like, fuck this.
yeah,
And then here he comes, and 4 months later, I'm married. Like,
that's different.
yeah.
That's how I felt with Casey too. It was just like,
Mhm.
this is
But
how,
I knew,
so this is love. La 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 la.
I just knew, like, Ellen had everything to do with it. There was no other way.
Yeah,
No other way.
yeah,
But
I
yeah,
love it. I love it. Love it. I gotta wrap
I
up.
love you and I
I love
adore
you.
you. And
And yes, you
I,
can book whatever, and that's, but do you understand like how I can switch gears into whatever you need during those times? And whomever will show up and talk with you about different things, because you're like, obviously this season for you is about healing. So, and season is not like months. It goes into however long you need to do a season, and when it's done, you move forward. That what?
do you believe in heaven and hell?
I believe, kind of. I believe
Kind
yes, but I also know exactly what it looks like for both ways. And it has to do with frequency and vibration and free will. So the afterworld, there's a whole process that happens. It's, I guess if you want to call it heaven, yes, but it's so much bigger than that. And there's a recovery area you go to, and it's for your greatest good, and your loved ones on the other side, they go to a place that matches their frequency. They have free will to move up or down. There's all sorts involved. So yes and no. You know what I mean? It's like, and
Right.
when people are very much like, um, if their faith is Jesus, then Jesus will be there. If it's Buddhist, it'll be Buddhist. If it's agnostic,
Right.
then your loved ones, or so it's like it's all right and it's all wrong at the same time. So, but the other side, it's not linear, and there's so many proven things of what and how what it really. I could honestly write a book about this. So
You should.
I really should actually, because it's important for people to know. It's important for people to know. So does that answer your question on that part? That's the
Yeah,
whole micro version without
kind of.
actually
Yeah.
telling you about the book.
I just kind of like wonder like where the very bad people are.
So what happens is with that.
I'm talking about my sperm donor. Like he
No, I
was
know.
awful.
That's why I didn't bring him up like that, and I didn't bring up
Yeah.
your mom either, because she's low vibrational, and your the father is, we're not even, they're not allowed in our realm.
Yeah.
Um,
I just kind of wonder if he's in hell where he
It
belongs.
doesn't work like that. What it is, I mean, yes, there's demons, yes, there's devils, yes, there. So what happens though is they have the choice to move up or down. What happens is when you first die, you can choose to either stay earthbound or cross the void and go into a type of recovery. That's where the crossing over happens. In that recovery, that crossing over area, what a lot of people talk about as judgment is really not judgment. It's you experience every single person that you've ever come across in any context of a way. You feel their what you did to them firsthand, as though you are them. So if you were abusive to somebody, you feel exactly what the abused person feels. So
Yeah.
that ripple effect goes so on and on and on. Um,
Good.
and you feel everything that you've ever done. Hitler would feel every single thing that has ever happened to
Good.
anything. So low vibrations like that are not likely to choose to work on themselves to get out of that area, and actually, but because of free will, they do have the opportunity to raise themselves up. However, it's not likely. And
Yeah.
so what happens is that when they're in that space, they are also surrounded by the demonic and like frequency. So they get the persecution in that way. They get the taunting, and it's miserable as fuck. So
Good.
it's worse than what the hell is, but and there's
Got
not
it.
just one devil, there's many devils. And yeah. So there is a hell, but there's even layers to that, and there's a whole hierarchy that happens below, just like there's a
Understand.
whole hierarchy above too. So
I
there's
understand.
frequencies. So yeah, it's worse than hell, but it's still and
Yeah. All of my patients that I've been with that have like actually passed away with me,
mhm.
my favorite patients. But I've actually watched like the transition, when they're talking to brothers and mothers and sisters. And I'm just like, yes, like, just come on in. Like, let's make it a happy reunion. And I've seen it and it's beautiful. But
Yes,
I will tell you that these people were good people.
yes.
They
But I have
weren't,
to interject on this too, that during that time when somebody has Alzheimer's, or um I hate it when people say Alzheimer's, it's Alzheimer's.
it,
Um
it's all time.
but or dementia, when they're going through that, um because of grace, when they're going in and out like that, they're actually starting to make an early transition. And it's a way to keep safe and also endure staying on Earth and having to put up with all that stuff. But it's also a way of making peace and also understanding what you're going through in a whole world of misunderstanding. And so when it becomes closer to the time like that, yes, like you said, they loved ones will come in more and more because they want that beautiful transition um,
Yeah.
for for them, and we stop putting our judgments up, and we stop putting our limitations and expectations up. We just go what is in front of us. And for these people, it's real, and it is real, but it's a special way of that's the early part of the judgment area, even though it's not judgment.
Yeah.
It's to transition to help your body understand that what is left here, and your soul moves on. And this is, however, the importance of like items, wearing people's necklaces and things like that. They leave residue on that stuff, so it's important. And so when we have those familiar items, it connects to that spirit as well. And so it's yeah, and so that's really important too. And so of course they're going to see loved ones. Usually that's where those familiar
Yeah.
blankets and the oh, I see my husband, I'm dancing with my husband. Yes, you are. You are absolutely. You're getting ready for the other side and you deserve it. So
Yeah. It's a beautiful process, to be honest.
I wish you would YouTube about that.
It's beautiful.
Mhm. I can't wait to hear all of your hospice stuff. I if I get
I,
to be around, I want to be a death doula. That's my one of my huge callings.
honey, if you ever need me to come take care of you, I will.
All right, Mama. I
Seriously, I will. I don't have a problem with
know.
it.
But we can definitely we could be friends too. That's it's a people I have really close friends that still book readings for me just the way that, as a hairdresser they would come and, buy a haircut
Yeah.
because I do need to do an income. But it's separate from friendship.
What you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like when I'm in the friendship stuff like that, I try my best not to be tapping in and all of that
Hmm.
jazz. However, for me it happens 24/7, but whatever. But the even still say I knew you since high school because one of my clients I have actually known since high school, but it's a different context with her. But she still
Right.
books. She's been booking appointments with me since high school. So
Neat.
I've done readings for her since high school. But when she books with me, it's in a completely different format. So that
Right.
it's authentically her experience and it's authentically what she needs during that season, what her family needs, and so forth. So that's how I'm able to maintain friendships and then also my readings and stuff as a totally different
Right.
and yet talk freely on YouTube.
You know, and I think you should be able to, without judgment.
Yeah.
There's so many judgy assholes out there.
Oh, I know, and I like to exploit the crap out of them on when they say horrific things to me.
Yeah. Good.
I'm like, oh, really? You think I'm hurt? I'm going to make you feel all sorts of goodness.
You should just take a picture of it and be like, oh, hey,
Yeah,
everyone.
I've done that. I was like, we're going to do a favorite spot today. And, just like after the fact, here's a good comment, here's a negative one.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to think like I dwell on negative stuff because I really don't. Not even close.
But everybody gets angry and has it up to here.
Yep, and we're human. I just think it's a funny way to deal.
Hey, that's what, if they think that they can exploit you, hell, let's just
Whatever.
do it.
Let's balance the stuff there. Let me